Let me give it for you right now, guys. It's In a Haze by New Alchemist. And the S is a dollar sign. The song before that was definitely a Dr. Delight. Yeah, With You Anytime. You got it right there. Glad you guys like these jams. I pay premium dollar to use them. Oh, there we go. Hope you guys are having a killer day. Let's see here. I see Anonymous Rex in the chat. What's up, guys? Hello, hello, hello. I see Zinro. What's up? What's shaking? Happy you're here. Let's see here. Digital Vortex. What's shaking? Turn down the music on my end here. Simon Flag. Morning. B. Baker. Unidentified Arkansas Phenomenon. Yo, what's up? Puxley, how you doing? Grant Lavac. What's up from down under, my friend? Welcome. Silly Goose, Anonymous Rex, Dana Shadell, one of our members. Thank you for being here. Alex Crudup. What up, everyone? Jason Brown. Greg O'Brien. What's shaking? Greg O'Brien. Okay. We've got some stuff to talk about. We definitely have some stuff to talk about today. Before we get started, of course, as always, if you haven't already, like, share, subscribe. Tell everybody we're live. It goes a very long way to getting new folks here. If you've already done all those things, obviously, thank you. Next step after that would be the Patreon links in the description below, or become a member. All of those things you can do with an easy click of a button. So, with that out of the way, let's get started with today's show. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. I think Jack Brewer and I really dove into this a lot. And the conclusion is I mean, there's really nothing to ask anymore because there are no really good answers. The questions that we're dying to get answers to are never, ever, 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 ever answered. And I don't think they're ever gonna be answered. I guess I'll preface this with saying I've got nothing personal against Brandon Fugal. I think he is what seems to be like a very average American businessman. He's got his toes in a lot of different things. He's got a lot of interests. A lot of them are some of my interests, especially when it comes to movies and music and art and culture. We share a lot of the same interests, except for he's got a much, much bigger bank account than I do, with a lot more commas. I've had great conversations with Brandon Fugal. He's been really gracious with his time, not only him, but his entire Skinwalker team. All of them have been incredibly gracious with their time. And I want to say thank you for that. Like, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to help this show. In a lot of ways, those appearances helped fuel views to this channel, helped fuel subscribers. I thought we had some pretty tough questions for them for the most part. Obviously, they didn't cut deep enough, because if they had cut deeper, I think we would have lost access a lot earlier, like we have now. You know, I have behind the scenes have tried to, as nicely and as professionally and as courteous as I could possibly put it, but I have some big questions that you keep dodging, not only publicly, but behind the scenes with me. And a lot of those questions came up during the Jack Brewer interview. And I think he heard those questions and basically sent me a text saying, "We need to talk. I don't think I could do your interview anymore." To which I didn't respond. I felt at that point, I didn't want to go around in circles with Brandon Fugal like I have done many times before. I have been on the phone with Brandon so long that his phone battery died and he talked for another 15 minutes. That's how long some of the conversations we've had have gone on for. And how patient and how much I've listened to him. And some of the things he said are true. For example, no one has ever given you this much access to Skinwalker Ranch. Period. Full stop. Nobody on the planet has ever invited anyone on any level to come behind the scenes and see what's actually going on the ranch. So from that perspective, he's unlike any other owner that's been on that ranch. But that's about where it ends, is the access. The access is unprecedented. Thank you. But so far, the evidence that's been put on the table has been wrong in a lot of cases. In most cases, they can be explained mostly just conventional bugs and objects flying around the ranch that are very terrestrial, and usually some kind of insect that at the right distance away from the camera makes it seem as if something phenomenal has just flown through frame. And it's even happened this season where, we had a video where Dr. Travis Taylor claims that an object moved faster, I think he said somewhere around 1,600 miles an hour, and made a big bold claim. They had the video of it, they showed it on the show, it went through a few editors, it went through a few producers, it went through channels before that episode hit air. And it turns out, if you just zoom in a little bit more, you see wings flapping on that object, and it's clearly an insect or even maybe a bird. And there was no correction, there was no apology, there was, oh damn, we just got this wrong, we'll be more careful next time. It was just ignore and don't even address it. Just let the History Channel play stuff like that and let people believe that there are objects, UFOs, moving at that speeds across the ranch. Now, behind the scenes, when I've had these, mainly my biggest question is, and the answer to this question is, do you believe the Skinwalker is real? When I asked that question to Brandon Fugal, he doesn't give you a direct yes, but he goes in a roundabout way of saying yes. And then you go, so that means yes, right? And he goes, uh-huh. Okay, so we've established the baseline here. Skinwalker, the phenomena, the attachment to people and things, that's real. According to Brandon Fugal and the scientist, singular, on his team, I guess I could say plural, if you want to count Travis Taylor as a scientist now. But he's gotten so many. Anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked. You ask him that question, so the Skinwalker is real. Then the follow-up to that question is, then why on earth are you and your members of your team traveling around the country and holding UFO conventions within the state of Utah, hugging people, having private dinners with people, taking pictures with people? Why is there no fear of the Skinwalker attaching to innocent people coming to buy your wares and hear your stories? There is no good answer for that when you ask him that question. All he does is bumble around, talk for sometimes 20, 30, 40 straight minutes, and then sends you an email, the exact same email of evidence that Stephen Greenstreet got when he broke down his Skinwalker Ranch experience. And he tells the story of giving Brandon an extension on the article or the piece being written and waiting for scientific, undisputable, what's your best evidence that you have from the time that you've been there with all of the equipment and all of the data you collected and all the video that you have. Send me the best you got. And you get an email, I swear to God, longer than a DoD wish list. It is just story after story after story after story with a video of what could easily be spiders or bugs, or just things that malfunction with cameras. Like, there are so many terrestrial explanations, and none of the things in this email, in this body of evidence, is actually evidence. It's clips from a TV show and spooky stories by sometimes really credible people. And I'll put that in quotes, credible. There is no good answer for that. None. And I also think that there is a major conflict of interest when it comes to how the local state of Utah, the government in Utah, is interacting with the caretakers, the managers of that ranch, other scientists and researchers. It doesn't seem like Brandon is attached to that directly. It seems like he's put him a nice buffer between his friends working on the ranch and him, and the ability for them to approach the government and ask for dollars to do UFO cons in the state of Utah, so they can pay UFO celebrities and other researchers to come and do talks at their UFO con. It's taxpayer dollars that are going straight to the fees of Travis Taylor, Dragon, Bryant Arnold, Thomas Winterton, and not Jim Semiman. There's another, the two caretakers and whoever else speaks at that con. And I can tell you right now, the fees are not low if you're a speaker at that con. They're not low. They're very enticing fees, and that's how they get people like Travis Taylor to talk there. Because I can promise you, if they weren't paying him a premium price to be there, he would not be there. And it also comes at the heels of the last episode of their TV show. So I have had conversations privately with friends that are attending that event. I've expressed my concerns. I have a feeling when the state level of government at Utah figures out how some of the dollars, or if the taxpayers of Utah start catching wind of how their tax dollars are being spent to pay UFO celebrities to come talk at a convention center that they can't fill for most of the year, I have a feeling the state of Utah is going to be pretty upset about that. And there's no way, especially now, because that's very public information, there's no way that the speakers that are going to that are going to be able to avoid that criticism if this goes south and Thomas Winterton ends up being in some sort of government violation because his dad is a senator in Utah. And so he's using dad's influence to essentially get his foot in the door to the local the local level of state government, like the mayor and city council and things like that. Hey, my dad's a senator. Look at what we're doing at the convention center. Would you guys like to help us invest in this money-making tourist trap opportunity for the state of Utah? And I think, again, like, lawmakers would look at that and be like, yeah, if that will bring in money to the state of Utah, I can turn around to my constituency and say, you may think it's silly, but look how much money it brought in. Now, here's where the rub is nobody has calculated how much money the TV show and the Phenomenon are generating for the state of Utah. Is it generating enough to cover the expenses of running this con? So the entire convention is paid with taxpayer dollars. It's a huge conflict of interest. A huge conflict of interest. And it is a clear indication that your team, Brandon Fugal, is biased. Every single person on that ranch, from your brother to your best friend, is biased, and everyone in between. Travis Taylor is 100% biased. I mean, there's videos of that guy talking about alien invasions and how the government could prepare for that 15 years ago. He's been writing books and preparing for an alien invasion. So, bias. Bryant Arnold, your best friend and security guard, who you're employing and literally the lifeline of, biased. And he's going to always agree with you because you're his boss first before you're his best friend. Because that boss is paying the mortgage, the schools, the cars, the trucks, and then the bonus of conventions and tours. There's a lot of money being made, maybe not by Brandon Fugal, but by Travis Taylor, Bryant Arnold, Thomas Winterton, and I'm forgetting the fourth guy, the very spiritual Native American. I think his name's Jim something. The entire team is biased, and the entire team has an incentive to lie to you, to make you believe that there are definitely spooky things happening. Because just like a government contract, just like a job, you don't want the contract to end. You don't want the contract to end because that's a steady paycheck. And they are going to take the most minute, weird thing and present it to Brandon as some part of the phenomenon and some part of the skinwalker. And the part where I really, really am struggling, and Jack Brewer put it best. I want to believe that you genuinely believe this. But if you're looking at this as scientific evidence and presenting it as rock solid evidence without having any, there I believe 21 universities in the state of Utah, and not one of them has approached Brandon Fugal to come study the ranch. Why? Why have you not gone to them? Why didn't you go to the CDC when you figured out that the skinwalker is a virus? Like, there's no way that you could be that naive, Brandon Fugal. There's no way. So that tells me that you're selling a line of bullshit. And that's as nicely as I'm going to put it. I like you. Like, I get, this is like the show I didn't want to do. But I had to let my audience know why Brandon Fugal didn't show up for his interview. And then something even stranger happened. I got a phone call from a gentleman by the name of Dean Dirac. And apparently he's the mod of the Skinwalker Ranch website, like all access website, and Reddit, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. He is the mod. He also has a YouTube channel. And he got my number from Brandon Fugal to help explain to me the science and the questions that I have about Skinwalker Ranch and how it's real and how Mick West is wrong and how Stephen Greenstreet got it wrong and how the science that they're doing on the ranch is actually science. It was one of the strangest phone calls I ever got because I didn't ask to talk to that guy, and I sure as hell didn't approve anybody to give him my phone number. And why would you send, like, what is it that this guy can explain and make me understand that Brandon Fugal can't? It was very strange. And I'm debating on whether or not I should have Dean on my show, because apparently he can set me straight on the science of the Skinwalker Ranch. He asked me to watch an episode of his show with another mod of the and big fan of Brandon Fugal and believer of the phenomena, and has a whole bunch of fake, very unimportant credentials, and is very vague about what her education is. Listen to, I bet, 3/4 of that interview. Her name's Shannon something. And yeah, I completely zoned out after that. It just didn't make any sense. And I don't know if bringing this person on would be an absolute waste of my time, or it worth having this discussion, because, you know, like, again, they have no proof and they have no actual science and they have no scientists actually interested in the research that they're doing. There's no hypothesis. There's no desired conclusion. There's no end to the mystery. And when you look at the paperwork for this entity, it's an entertainment company. It's not a science company. But yet they're making scientific claims, bold scientific claims, that this is 100% scientifically verified proof of UFOs, UAPs, alien activity, and viruses, spooky ghost-like viruses that present themselves as cancer in people, that give radiation to people, that presents itself as a werewolf standing up in a trench coat smoking a cigarette, presents itself as dino beavers. This is all bullshit. All of it. It's an entertainment company, in my opinion, trying to get the state of Utah to make a tourist trap that they could take advantage of through tax loopholes and being able to petition the government to fund these phenomenons, because it only costs you $100,000 to get it up and running and get all the guests here, and it's going to bring in $500,000 worth of tourism to the state of Utah, even though we can't prove that. There's a lot of red flags with your ranch, Brandon Fugal. And a lot of these flags we saw. We weren't stupid. We saw them in season 1. We saw them in season 2. We saw them in season 3. And I think especially by season 3, the team was just fatigued of the claims and the terrible science and the lack of hypotheses and the lack of repeating experiments other than firing rockets into the fucking sky. Like, if I see one more goddamn rocket, I'm going to lose my shit. And not to mention all that, but there's also a religious bias within this team. Every single member is a Mormon, active Mormon, or former member of the church. So I believe in a lot of ways that they've abandoned a belief system only to adopt another one. And they either can't see it, or they can and are actively selling this stuff. And at this point, it looks like the latter. It looks like you guys are scamming people. And that there's no direct link to Brandon Fugal, He's got nothing to do with what those guys are doing outside of the ranch on paper, but taking a step back and knowing who these people are and knowing who their dads are and knowing that you guys run in the same circles. Like, a real estate billionaire that has produced a lot of income and tax dollars for the state of Utah hasn't rubbed elbows with the senator of Utah. I mean, I'm not saying that that's what it is, but you can understand taking a step back, looking at all of these facts, undeniable facts, you kind of start coming to some conclusions that don't feel good to talk about and certainly don't feel good to address like this. I've tried addressing these behind the scenes. God knows I've tried. The length of conversations that him and I have had, especially post Green Street doc, have been insane. And I can't give you the benefit of the doubt. I don't do that anymore. I don't do that with anyone anymore. There is no more benefit to the doubts because we're boys or we're buddies or we're friendly. Those days are gone. I give you the benefit of the doubt for 3 seasons of reviews. I bit my tongue in a lot of ways. I found ways to make fun of the show. I found ways to mock it. I found ways to question it that were fun and revealing. And I think some of the best interviews that have ever been had with Brandon Fugal or their team have happened here. They've happened here because we've asked them hard questions. But again, they weren't hard enough, clearly. And also, the last thing I'll say about this, the data. The simple, small, less than a terabyte, less than 50 megabytes in some cases, worth of data that Mick West has been asking for the better part of a year. Simple data dumps. And when you go to the Skinwalker Ranch Insider page, there's no data there. There's no extra data. Zero. There's zero scientific evidence there. Zero. So until you start releasing data and let it being open sourced, until you get rid of especially Travis Taylor from that ranch. I mean, he lied to you guys, was pretty much spying on you guys and reporting those things to the UAPTF. There's so many things that you would have to do. I mean, we need a hypothesis. We need repeated experiments. We need a university team on the ranch while these experiments are being conducted and suggested. There's got to be a way more scientific method to study this ranch that's much better than a highly produced television show. And they say it's unscripted. That's bullshit. The moments on the ranch where they're digging things, all of that stuff, when they're outside, unscripted. But when they're talking into camera and sitting in a very air-conditioned room, telling you what's going on, literally narrating what's coming up next. Well, we went down to Homestead 3 and man, I got blasted with radiation. Check this out. And then boom, they cut to the thing. Like, all of that stuff is written down for them. So part of this stuff is scripted. They have a plan. They have an outline. They have experiments that that they think are visually going to be exciting and that are going to convince very average / below average people that this is real. And that is going to open the door for those people to buy airplane tickets to the state of Utah to spend their hard-earned money on your UFO con and your tours of the ranch and your private dinners and the handshakes and the merch and all of the stuff that comes with this. That's not illegal. You guys have every right to do it. But if you're going to do it, at least call it what it is. Stop calling it science, stop calling it fact, and just tell everybody and be honest about what it is. This is a tourist trap. And I'm sure you can figure out a much more sophisticated and eloquent way of, saying that to your people, to your folks, to your believers, to your followers, to your church. But until that stuff happens, man, like, this is sci-fi fantasy bullshit. This is all bullshit. I am now 100% convinced that there's nothing going on that ranch, and there's nothing going on the surrounding ranches that is spooky or extraterrestrial or phenomenology or a phenomenon or any of that stuff. It's all bullshit. So until you can satisfy those questions that I have, Mr. Fugal, I don't care if I never talk to you again. That would bum me out. I don't want that to be the case. I would love for us to come to some sort of resolution on this, but why would you care what I think? I'm nobody to you, right? Like, and I understand that. Like, so I guess we'll just agree to disagree, go our separate ways. I had nothing nasty to say about Brandon Fugal. He's always been very kind to me, and again, very, very, very generous with his time. It's like almost too generous. Like, and sometimes where I'm sitting here and I'm talking and we're going on hour 3, hour 4 of a conversation, I'm like, why is this guy talking to me this long? And why is he working so hard to convince me that this is real? I feel like I'm being pitched every time I talk to you. I'm not buying. I'm not buying. I'm sorry. I can't buy it. It doesn't make any sense, and it's just silly at this point. Okay. So now that's out of the way. And that's why Brandon Fugal did not come to our show. We were super excited to have him. It was going to be me and Rather, and we were going to go over the new season. We are going to go over our issues with it. We were going to ask and demand answers of the same stuff that you guys were asking and demanding answers for. I thought that was very clear when I first asked him to come and talk to us. But I think after that Jack Brewer interview, he knew exactly where that interview was going to go. And it wasn't going to be rude. It wasn't going to be contentious, but it was going to be prefaced with, hey, we love you, but we want you to answer these questions. Like, we genuinely want you to answer these questions. And I don't think we're ever going to get it. I don't think we're ever going to get it. Sorry, you guys, I haven't been looking at the chat here, so I know it's going pretty crazy. So thank you all for being here. Just to reset the room real quick, we're talking about why Brandon Fugal didn't come for his scheduled interview and the things that happened after he told me he wasn't coming, and the things that led up to it. So yeah, thanks all for being here. Like, share, subscribe. Links in the description below if you want to support the show. Okay, so I guess I've said everything that I need to say on that. Yeah, don't worry, Steve Long. You can always go back and watch it. And thank you for being here, East Coast Teen. I see you guys comments on the screen. And if you want your comments to show up on the screen there, just go follow us on Twitch. Twitch is a great way to sort of follow the channel, just in case YouTube decides to be silly. Which is interesting. One of the things I wanted to talk about, YouTube demonetizing Ryan Sprague's channel. That's interesting. I wonder why. I wonder what the reason is going to be. I know he has, but I thought the films that he's posted on his channel, he's posted like full UFO films from the 40s and the 50s and the 30s, like really, really old films. Which I thought were in the public sector, or I can't remember, the public domain, where after a certain amount of time, those videos are completely copyright free and anyone's allowed to use them just as long as the credit's given. Maybe he put up a film that has been up for a long time that didn't fall into that category. Maybe he got demonetized because the stuff he's talking about is conspiracy related and not factual. I know that the debrief got demonetized very shortly after they got monetized, and I don't think they've been monetized since. YouTube has not approved their monetization. Interesting. I wonder why that is. Yeah. Anyway, that made me think of that. So let's switch over to here. So I'm just gonna try something pretty crazy here, you guys. So I always wanted to do a hold on here. There we go. I always wanted to do a show where we did also a live Twitter space. So you guys could join the Twitter space and we can have like a roundtable conversation on the show. But you can't host a Twitter space from desktop. So what I was going to try and do is host it from my phone and log in through my desktop on a backup account and make me like a host / administrator through the phone, and then see if people could join that way and see how that works out. I have no idea if this is going to work. But we'll give it a shot. But before we do that, I'm going to save that for the end of the show. Before we do that, I want to let's see here. You got to use that footage of Elizondo doing the stick with it or BS game. There was dome things he said in the Louvre that he made you edit out. It stood out to me in TUE live when he said it and then gone. I'm not sure what that means, birthday boy. Speaking of birthday, it's my birthday today. So yeah, happy birthday to me. Let's check out my bookmarks. There's some things that happened here in the last week that were really, really interesting. Today or a couple of days ago, this dropped, and I just want to make everyone aware of Marieke von Kloppenstick. This guy is a former DoD employee, or actually, this one was written by Tim Gallaudet, who we've talked about already. He was on the Good Trouble show, sort of like a half whistleblower that really had nothing to say. And also admitted that he has not had direct knowledge of any of these programs or things. He's just interviewed people. He's also on the board for Americans for Safe Aerospace. So just another one of these naval retired guys now writing opinion pieces for The Hill, all having to do with UFOs. But that also reminds me of, I think today, Marieke von Kloppenstick had and his name is not Marieke von Kloppenstick. That's just what I call him because I always forget his last name. But he was one of the guys that was calling me right before I did the last episode of UCR, and he was trying to convince me, hey man, why are you gonna, why rock the boat? Why end the show? Why say these things? You're making a lot of money, like a whole bunch of, you're doing really good, man. Like, why would you do it? And let me, somebody joined on Twitch, and we got a $10 donation. Thank you, James Craig. Are you going to discuss Kirkpatrick's response to the hearing? Yes, I will be discussing Kirkpatrick's response to the hearing. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. But I want to say thank you to the person who just joined on Twitch. If you heard that little meme yell, "Who's Lou?" Wepa1 has followed on Twitch. So thank you so much. Shout out to you. Appreciate it. Okay, so going back to this, this is an article that Marieke von Kloppenstick wrote. And again, Marieke is a former DoD employee that writes opinion pieces and kind of poses as a journalist for The Hill. And this is the article that he wrote today. A monumental UFO scandal is looming. Yeah, he basically theorizes it could be only one of three things: a total scam, a grift, a whole bunch of guys that are mistaken, or a psyop. So or it's real rather. The psyop was grift as well. Um, so not the usual we get from Marique von Kloppenstick. Let me go to this article. I keep Marique Rennenkampf. 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 Marique von Rennenkampf. Sounds like a very authoritative person. But yeah, he was, what's up, dude? Trying to be my buddy and my pal, even though we'd never talked, we'd never ever spoken before. And he loves providing this really shitty argument against Mick West about the Tic Tac video and the gimbal footage. And he's coming to conclusions with missing data, Marique von Rennenkampf. It's the most annoying bad faith positions and arguments and arguers online is Marique von Rennenkamp. So if you see an article by this guy, just take it with an absolute grain of salt. Probably ignore it. I would say. Anything that this guy puts out is always in support of the military because he's a former DOD guy. And again, like, what is a retired DOD guy have this interest in UFOs and selling this narrative? It's very strange. It's just another weird thing about this story. So there's that. Let's go ahead and go back to my bookmarks. Okay, so this is another story that came out as well. John Greenwald posted this on August 2nd. And he wrote, for his bio, the UFO whistleblower David Grush submitted his CV. This was recently published by the House. It lists his current position as COO of the Soul Foundation, which was founded by, drumroll please, Dr. Gary Nolan. And it reveals a lot more. This was huge. And it again just goes to show how connected all of these whistleblowers are to the Gary Nolans, to the Hal Putoffs, to the Lou Elizondos, to the Christopher Mellons, all of these guys that are coming out, the Marine von Kloppenstick, the David Gallaudays or the Tim Gallaudays, the David Grushes, the David Fravers, all of these guys have connections to Hal Putoff, ATIP, OSAP, and the failure that was that program, and Eric Davis and Kit Green. Everything leads to those guys, including David Grush. And so here he is running a company with Gary Nolan. And it's hilarious, man. Like, it's at this point, they're kind of trolling you. They're just trolling you at this point. It's not even like they're not even trying to hide it. And the fact that you guys eat this up as if it's like like it's John Greenwald's fault that this is fact. That these guys are all buddies. These guys are all pals. And the same verbiage that they use in shareholder pitch meetings, they use in Congress. And then they take it even further in interviews with News Nation. I hate News Nation. And part of me hates myself. I have to admit this. Like, I wouldn't be being honest with you guys if I didn't admit this. But part of me hates myself for saying anything. Like, you know how much money I would be making right now if I had fired Rather and leaned into how wrong we got it with Lou and never told John Greenwald about the felon list that he was on, do you know how much money I would be making right now and how many interviews on News Nation I'd be doing? I'd be the guy who started the grassroots movement to petition the government to study UFOs. I'd have all of the great talking points, I'd have all of the experience under my belt. And do you know how many subscribers I would have by now? How much money I would be making? I definitely wouldn't have to do Uber ever again. I could have leaned into this. Part of me is really kicking myself in the ass. It's a lot of money. I wouldn't be happy with myself. I'd feel fucking guilty every single day. But I mean, how much money do you have to make where that guilt just kind of gets put on the back burner? If I was making, I'd be making definitely as much as that UFO podcast was making back in November by now. I'd have 50,000 subs on this channel. There'd be 2,000 people in here every show. That sucks. Sucks. And then to sit here and be accused of in it for the clicks, in it for the money, in it for the super chat, it's absolutely wild to me. But yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. And then we get this, you know, like how would I be combating this information if I played ball? Of course, I'd be downplaying the connection. Who cares? He's retired. He's allowed to work for whoever he wants, including Gary Nolan. So what if they know each other? So what if they're buddies? Who cares? It's not a red flag at all. Oh, man. But none shower up for the phone home. So there's no such thing as UFOs or anything at all. You got it all figured out now. No. And a lot of people showed up for the phone home, dude. More than any other YouTube host or podcast or anything that anybody else has done. I see Ryan Sprague is doing a huge 8-hour live stream, big phone hub kind of event, but there's no initiative, there's no galvanizing, there's no mission, like there's nothing. It's just a whole bunch of people for 8 hours jerking each other off about what they believe in. So I mean, if you want to go on that show, birthday boy, go for it. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like yeah, it's wild. Wild. But okay. So this was a really interesting if you guys haven't seen this, I'm going to play this clip because I thought this was just a great little exchange between Mick West and Stephen Greenstreet about, you know, he writes, Congress continues to be duped about UFOs. Last week, Congress and their UFO witness admitted current UFO interest began with a 2017 New York Times article, an article that we know is false, wrong, and deceptive. And Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal in the New York Times fucked that whole article up. The whole thing is filled with incorrect information. And that's not just me saying it, that's fact. That's facts. And the fact that that article is still up and can still be found and is still being referenced by congressional whistleblowers that aren't blowing anything, like it's silly. Again, silly. But let's pump this up here. Let's pump up the volume over here and let's play this clip.
A lot of folks today, Burchett, Fravor, Graves mentioned it. A few others mentioned it, that the genesis of either their personal interest or the general interest in the public and Congress goes back to the 2017 New York Times.
Yeah. Sorry, this thing likes to reset sometimes.
Article.
This was brought up today.
A groundbreaking
on the Pentagon's UFO program, ATIP. Multiple times this was brought up today.
A groundbreaking 2017 New York Times report.
2017 New York Times.
Like many others, in 2017, I saw the New York Times article.
From New York Times article, and I would encourage everybody to read that.
And that was just shocking to me because through my reporting, we've demonstrated that that article was factually inaccurate, deceptive. That story is mostly false and wrong. And to hear congressional leaders, witnesses, everyone still saying it all goes back to this article shows me that people still haven't caught up to what's really going on in this story. People just don't know the facts, the basic facts about what's going on. Were you shocked to hear? Do you continue to be shocked to hear about the 2017 New York Times article?
No, unfortunately not, because it's something that just comes up all the time as being, essentially like a red pill moment for people. It was for Grush himself. Like he got interested in UFOs starting with that particular thing. And so many people have told me that, that was, their introduction to what was going on. They read the New York Times story, and so they get sucked in because of that. And this New York Times story is just given it the kind of authority of the New York Times said this.
The program was Skinwalker Ranch. It was OSAP. It was Robert Bigelow and people chasing dino beavers and werewolves. And Leslie Kane, a UFO activist, took the story, threw OSAP away, threw Skinwalker away, and made it just about UFOs, which got to her credit, got the attention of Congress. The problem being most of the story was wrong. And that's not an opinion. It's wrong. The story is absolutely a wrong, false story. And we heard today, congressional leaders and the witnesses saying that article continues to be their inspiration. It continues to push the issue further in Congress. And none of them are aware of the fact that the story is riddled with unimpeachable errors.
And he's 100% right. He's 100% right. Like, it's indisputable. You cannot dispute this. It's fact. That article has it's wrong. It's just wrong. A lot of inaccuracies, and I'm shocked that the New York Times hasn't taken it down at this point. We don't have time to get into the Dean Johnson tweet here about Bob Lazar, because I don't want to get into a tangent on Bob Lazar, but this was a really cool video that Massimo put out, and it's just a beautiful video of perspective. This lump of snow that at first glance looks like a ship or looks like something coming down from the sky. And it's visually really confusing and impressive. It almost looks fake. It almost looks CGI the way it's moving. And it looks like it's about to land in front of a bunch of cars in a snowstorm. And then wipe. You get a windshield wiper, just completely obliterate it. And it's like, I think this is a beautiful example of perspective, like this. And he wrote, "This is how confusing perspective messes with your mind. First you see a falling rock or even car, and then wipe." It's wild. And so, like, I think stuff like this happens all the time in jets or airline planes, where people mistake things all the time. And sometimes what seems amazing, given the right data, it's not. And the data here is the windshield wiper, because if that had kept going or the video cut out, people would have been flipping out about what is this thing. Thank God there was a wiper that came across the screen. So yeah. And then this was also really big news. Who's Axelrod posted this? Knapp finally tells Congress that his buddy Lazar worked on UFOs at Area 51, and it is in possession of a spaceship fuel, aka Element 115. Wait, what do you mean he didn't mention Lazar? He and Corbell didn't mention any of their other bullshit stories either? I wonder why. So, of course, she's being facetious with this first sentence here, right? Like, but it's true. George Knapp wrote a letter to Congress, a statement to Congress, and it has no mention of Bob Lazar. It has no mention of Element 115. It's just a bunch of garble. I mean, here he's got the proof. He's made the money off of it. He's done the grift, and he's got a front row seat in Congress, and he can't provide the proof or even mention it in a letter? Like, this is a 4-page letter. I barely got through this. You think real actual lawmakers are going to read this 4-page letter from you? You think there's anything in this diatribe of nonsense that a congressman doesn't already know or doesn't have access to? And the fact that you're bringing up OSAP in this letter as like some sort of proof is, God, I hope staffers look into OSAP, and I hope they see what a waste of fucking money it was, and how stupid it was. So yeah, so still no Element 115, no proof from Bob Lazar, and still silence from Ross Coulthart on his UFO so big they had to build an entire facility around it in a different country. He could tell us where that country is. He could give us longitude, latitude. He could give us hints, but refuses to say anything. So we've got disclosure sitting behind journalists. One journalist sitting on Element 115, the other journalist sitting on information that could end this debate tomorrow. Now. It could end it right now. And they refuse to do it. Refuse to do it. I also wanted to address AOC. Jason Calavito wrote, traditionally, defense spending has been a third rail immune from oversight. It's rather sad commentary on our degraded political culture that it takes space aliens to flying saucers to give legislators cover to question the military. And that's a scary statement, and it's true. Like, it's taking aliens and spaceships for Congress members to be like, hey, where's the money going? What programs are these? What are you guys hiding? Why can't we audit you? We should be able to audit the military and the programs and the black budget programs. Those things should be auditable. And it shouldn't take space aliens to do it. But the thing I wanted to say about AOC, from a personal perspective, I love her. I would love to have a conversation with her. I think she's a really bright person. But as a lawmaker, she is the most useless lawmaker on the Hill. She has passed nothing. She doesn't work across the aisle. She doesn't get anything done. She has literally been ranked the most useless, top 10 most useless, and I think she's actually in the top 5 most useless Congress lawmakers on the Hill, along with Tim Burchett and along with Representative Luna. Every single lawmaker pretty much that we saw in that hearing is not known for getting things done, or they're really, really, really new to the process. So, with all due respect, I don't give a shit what AOC says on this. She's got no pull. She sits on 0 committees. She asks some decent questions, but these questions aren't leading to anything. And the fact that the real committees that are actually privy to this information are sticking by what the DOD has said and what Kirkpatrick has publicly said. And we're going to get to that in a minute as well. I believe I already covered this. Matt Gaetz on television as a reporter reporting on his own congressional hearing. If that doesn't strike you as absolutely bonkers and a red flag, dude, you're in deep that you are deep in that rabbit hole if that doesn't strike you as absolutely nuts. So I guess I didn't bookmark Kirkpatrick's response, but I know I've got it somewhere here in my timeline. Here we go again, timeline hunting. Let's see. Tim Galladay. Oh boy, that's too far back. Global warming. Lou, your integrity will eventually lead to more success than you ever need. Keep fighting the good fight. We'll see. I hope so. I mean, if it happens, great. If it doesn't at this point, I'm just figuring things out. I made a pretty funny video. I don't know if I played that on a show yet.
To
Disclosure now.
To Disclosure Park.
Disclosure Park. I got a kick out of making this, not gonna lie.
People have just heard you say non-humans may well have murdered human beings.
Uh-huh.
That seems to be the case at one point, yeah.
Okay, so there has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I can't get into the specifics in an open environment, but at least
I can't get into
activity
specifics.
that I personally witnessed. And I have to
What
be
does
very
this mean?
careful here.
Very
You
careful.
know, I tell you never to acknowledge tradecraft, right?
Don't acknowledge tradecraft.
What I personally witnessed myself and my wife is
Is-
very disturbing.
Okay. We didn't ask about your fucking wife. Grush, we didn't ask about your wife. Why are you referencing your wife in a congressional hearing? He asked you a very straight and direct forward question. A question that you can answer on Newsmax, but for some reason you can't answer under oath. So where's the whistle blowing? Where's the whistle, David Grush? Why is it that you can say it to Ross Coulthard, disgraced journalist and paid hitman, paid journalistic hitman, and we'll get into that in another episode because we've got to break that down. And then, but you give a different answer to newly sworn in Congressman Mr. Burleson, which I thought had the best questions in the entire congressional hearing. I enjoyed his questioning the most, and I think he walked away from this going, this is bullshit, and I'd love to get his opinion or a quote from him on what he thought and the answers that he got from David Grush and the other witnesses at the table. I don't think he was impressed, but I can't speak for him. This was very interesting. Obviously, I think we brought this up. I'm pretty sure we talked about this. This was, right? Did I talk about this, guys? The Jeremy Corbell being inside a skiff or claiming to be inside a skiff. This is a few times he's done this already. He claimed that he saw classified material that Tim Burchett referenced in a News Nation interview that Tim Burchett said he saw in a skiff, and then Jeremy Corbell chimed in quickly with, yep, I've seen that footage too, man. I saw it too. And then here he is in a conversation with Sager and Jetty at post-hearing, and I edited this down. Listen to what he says here.
Moment of the hearing, everyone, is when the congressmen repeatedly were talking about how they were denied access to a special compartmentalized facility. So Dave Grush could give them specifics about this UFO program.
Yes.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it shouldn't be hard. I mean, I've been in them very recently. I've been in them very recently. So the deal is this. That was intentional, and that bothers me.
Yeah. A key moment of the hearing.
So he's been inside a skiff. Was he taking a tour of one? Was he in there to see classified information? If so, why? He's a fucking journalist and a movie maker. Why is Jeremy Corbell getting eyeballs on classified information? Why is he not being arrested for that? Why is he being thanked in congressional hearings for that? Why does he have front row seats to the biggest UFO hearing of all time that 10 people showed up to? Why? Why is George Knapp writing letters to Congress? It's weird. It's weird. And why is Sager and Jetty not bitching and complaining about how Jeremy Corbell is not wearing a suit to Congress? He bitches and complains that nobody wears a suit and shows respect to the halls of the nation. And here's Jeremy Corbell in a wrinkled shirt and jeans showing up to a congressional hearing. He's the only guy that wasn't in a suit there in the front row. Like, whatever, Sager. I mean, take your tongue out of his you-know-where, buddy. I mean, like, it's like so gross how Sager and Jetty is just eating this shit up. I thought he was kind of smart. And now after watching him report on this specifically, I've lost all respect or any sort of like or anything that I liked about Sager and Jetty is gone. That is absolutely been destroyed by how he's covered this story in the last 2 years and how he's ignored me. He was talking to me before for the Big Phone Home 1 and 2, but stopped talking to me after I told him that, hey, I think something's wrong here, and tried to warn him about it. Crickets after that, and now here he is, tongue deep inside Jeremy Corbell. All right, let's see here where, gosh, I did have, I want to talk about this Kirkpatrick rebuttal. Can somebody DM me the link to that? That would be very helpful. I would truly appreciate if somebody DM me the link to that rebuttal, because I don't have it. I thought I bookmarked it, but I didn't, and I feel like it's so far in my timeline I might not find it, but let me try. Because, yeah, Kirkpatrick fires back, and it was hands down my favorite moment of the last year in this discussion, because you can tell that Kirkpatrick's had enough of the bullshit. And you got like interviews with Tim McMillan on That UFO podcast telling that enormous audience that nobody likes Dr. Kirkpatrick. Everybody thinks he's a dick and accuses him of administrative terrorism. Like all of these buzzwords that we've heard before when it comes to this garbage. Let's see here. Yeah, okay, let's listen to this. I mean, since I mentioned it, here it is right here. And by the way, fair use. Let me go ahead and just say that we've got fair use. This is transformative work. We're educating the public and critiquing the videos we are sharing. This is covered under fair use and allowable by law. So this is Andy McGrillen, That UFO podcast, interviewing Tim McMillan, the one of the head people over at the Debrief Media, the company that published the David Grush story and rushed it to print and decided that all of the red flags that the Washington Post and the New York Times and every other major news outlet saw with this story didn't matter. The Debrief, they ran with it. And here's Tim McMillan on a German airbase, okay, because his wife works in the DOD, telling us about Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, a veteran, a scientist, and someone who's been tasked and thanked publicly by not only Susan Goff, but Senator Gillibrand. Here's Tim McMillan telling us about Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick.
I'm trying to be nice here, and I don't know any other way to do it, but there's certainly a sentiment of there's not a lot of people like Dr. Kirkpatrick. Let me put it that way, who have worked for him, worked with him, both in the past or maybe in recently. He evidently, I don't know him personally. I've spoken only a couple of words to him, but he doesn't appear to be very likable, and so people kind of people that
adorable
saw it that maybe were internally were going, standing up for us or standing up for yourself. Like, you don't give a shit about us. Like you're an asshole to us. And so that was kind of the context of that, is that, even going back to people who, when he was the...
Who are these people? Who?
Director of J2 Intelligence at Spacecom, or when he was at Mesa, people that have worked with him are like, he just, tends to be kind of abrasive. And so that was what, there was some sentiment of almost amusement that they felt like he was using them and their hard work to, he had to take this valiant stand when they felt like maybe at certain times their own hard work is not appreciated by him, as is.
That clip pissed me off so much. The gumption, the temerity to just say these things and provide zero proof of it, or the people who actually said it. He's never actually met the man. He met him once and spoke to him briefly and just told you that he's an asshole and nobody likes him. And I've heard those things too from Sean Cahill on a recording talking about David Fravor. So that also rings familiar as well, that attack. Nobody liked him. Everybody thought he was an asshole. I'm going to tell you a story about Tim McMillan, and this is one of the scariest things that happened while doing UCR. And it happened right after the first big phone home. I'm not going to say who it was that was on my team, but there was, and I'm sure some people remember this. There was hesitation on the debrief's part to partake in the big phone home because they wanted to be seen as a journalistic neutral entity, which I totally understood. So I approached Michael to see if he wanted to co-host it with me. And he was all in. He was totally stoked for it. After the big phone home, I was told a story by someone who works at the debrief, or worked at the debrief, currently works at the debrief. I'll leave it ambiguous and let you figure it out. But I was told, and this scared the shit out of me, I was told that this person who was on my show, it prompted phone calls from the Department of Defense to Tim McMillan screaming at him, why is one of his team members doing this big phone home thing? And that he was upset with Michael being on the big phone home, and it was a problem. And that scared me. And the reason why it scared me was because my first question to hearing that news, and I heard it from a very, very reliable, very close person to the source, told me that, yeah, it was a problem. And the Department of Defense, whoever called Tim McMillan, were really pissed that they would allow one of their employees to partake in this. But the thing was, Michael wasn't an employee. Nobody was paying Mike. Mike was a freelancer. Mike could do whatever the hell he wanted, and he didn't like to be told what to do. And so Yeah, but the first question I had was, well, why the hell is the Department of Defense calling a journalist at the debrief and giving him a piece of their mind and being upset and essentially yelling at him because of something that one of their contributors participated in? It was scary. Like, why is a journalist working with people at the DOD? Why are they yelling at him? Why is he then turning around and yelling at employees for getting him in trouble with the DOD? Like, it was the weirdest, scariest shit. First phone call I made, Sean Cahill. And I said, dude, I am terrified. I don't know what to do with this information. It's insanely alarming. And I want to call you and get your take on it, because I want you to help me make sense of this, because that was one of the first big red flags that I got about this whole topic. I've never told this story, and after seeing this, I just have to talk about it. And ever since that happened, I've never trusted Tim McMillan. I've had him on the show. We never addressed that issue. But that was always in the back of my mind. Always in the back of my mind. And then when I see him post contrarian arguments like this, or things that are rumors about people that are completely unverifiable, it just chaps my ass. It chaps my ass that this former police officer from Alabama is sitting on a military base in the middle of Germany reporting on pro-war with Ukraine and Russia and involvement in that. And on the flip side of that, pushing an agenda for more research and whistleblowers on UFOs. And his wife works for the Department of Defense. It's just weird. It's weird. And here he is on Andy McGrillen's show. No pushback. No, well, wait a second. Don't you think he's doing a good job? Or what about what Senator Gillibrand said? Or nope. Just accept it. Because I know for sure Lou Elizondo is saying the exact same thing to them behind the scenes. And that's what Christopher Sharp thinks. That's what UAP Media UK think. They all think Dr. Kirkpatrick is an asshole. He's not doing his job. He's a dereliction of duty. All of them want him fired. All of them think that he's created some sort of administrative terrorism. And so far, there's no proof of that. It's just Dr. Kirkpatrick is applying real science to all of these questions and coming back with, yeah, there's nothing there. There's no proof. We haven't found any proof of these alien bodies or reverse engineered programs, and some of these guys telling these stories, their security clearances don't check out. Thank you for the donation, Sidvich. Truly appreciate it. Birthday boy, get the fuck out of here if you don't like it. I'll tell you what, I'll make it easy for you, dude. I'll just block you. How about that? Yeah, you're the bad guy. Get the fuck out of here. Like, nobody wants to hear your bullshit. Fuck off. Like, Christ almighty, dude. You're annoying as shit. So fucking annoying. And probably a bot. Which a whole bunch of bots have been in my comments and chats. It's wild. That's what these guys do. They send bots and they send their henchmen in UAP Mike and Birthday Boy here and KMF and all of these idiots that harass and dox people. We'll probably never get another Rather Be Squidding appearance on this show because of the shit that those guys have done. Thanks to Dan Zetterstrom and thanks to that UFO podcast. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thank you for helping dox and facilitate harassment and facilitate lies being told about people. It's amazing what these people are doing to make Rather look bad. The lies that they're making up. And I know they're lies because there's no arrest record, there's no indictment, there's no court case. They're just taking a very common name, they're applying it to a very heinous crime, and they're saying this guy is this person, and therefore you should cancel him. You should not listen to him. His points are invalid because look at this crime that we linked him to that has nothing to do with him. Look at that. Now Rather doesn't want to do this anymore. I don't blame him. But it sucks because I love having Rather on this show. And this is the shit that makes me just want to walk away from this. It sucks, man. It really sucks. Like that this is acceptable behavior from Lou Elizondo and all of these guys. Like they give the okay on this kind of shit. It's why I said what I said about that UFO podcast in November, because I knew they were capable of this stuff, because I saw them do this kind of shit behind the scenes. All right, where is this letter from Dr. Kirkpatrick? Because I want to hear who posted it, by the way. Can somebody help me out here with this? Where the hell can I find this? I'm looking at the chat right now. If anybody in the chat can help me look for this, that'd be great. Try to remember where the hell this was posted. I think it was Dee Johnson that originally posted it. I'm sure I can find it there. Let's see here. Oh, I love what William Shatner. Yeah, did you guys see what William Shatner said about this? Amazing. William Shatner, with all of the UFO shows that he's done, he can't. He's like, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right, where is this letter? Here we go. Found it. Okay. So this was issued July 27th, 2023 by Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. I received verification directly from Dr. Kirkpatrick that he wrote this. Hearings and Transparency, Sean M. Kirkpatrick, PhD. Let me begin by saying that the following are my own personal observations and opinions, which do not necessarily represent the official DoD or IC positions. Yesterday, the Subcommittee on National Security, the Border, and Foreign Affairs held an open hearing on UAP during which a government cover-up of extraterrestrials was alleged. I wholeheartedly applaud congressional efforts to get to the truth about UAP, about what UAP are and the risk to both pilot safety and national security. I am also absolutely committed to transparency on both the historical missions and the operational missions. As the director of AARO's amazingly talented, devoted, and highly motivated team, however, I cannot let yesterday's hearing pass without sharing how insulting it was to the officers of the Department of Defense and the intelligence community who chose to join AARO. Many with not unreasonable anxieties about the career risk this would entail, that have been working diligently, tirelessly, and often in the face of harassment and animosity to satisfy their congressionally mandated mission. They are truth seekers, as am I. But you certainly would not get that impression from yesterday's hearing. AARO was established by law to investigate the allegations and assertions presented in yesterday's hearing. Allegations by its witnesses of retaliation to include physical assault and hints of murder are extraordinarily serious, which is why law enforcement is a critical member of the Arrow team, specifically to address and to take swift action should anyone come forward with such claims. Yet, contrary to assertions made in the hearing, the central source of those allegations has refused to speak with Arrow. Furthermore, some information reportedly provided to Congress has not been provided to Arrow, raising additional questions about the true commitment to transparency by some congressional elements. The subcommittee, whose questions and oversight duties are irreproachable and in genuine need of answers, has never asked Arrow for an update on the reporting system, the historical review, the operations, and the S&T strategy that Arrow leads and is undertaking. So that congressional committee never reached out to Arrow. As far as we can tell, they're lying about showing up to the base and getting a presentation that they didn't ask for. They didn't understand that they were not cleared to see the good stuff because they don't sit on committees that allows it. So I highly doubt that the classified footage that Burchett is seeing in SCIFs, he has no clue what that shit is. And he's misinterpreting what he's looking at because he doesn't have the classification to be privy to those things. A rational person watching the hearing might reasonably assume that both the witness and the members had an understanding of the department's and the IC's progress since the establishment of Arrow around this time last year, only naturally leading them to conclude that Arrow has been ineffective, non-transparent, and delinquent in legislated mission. Arrow briefs the defense and intel communities regularly, and since the last NDAA and Homeland Defense, S&T, and several other committees as well, which is fact. And he's got another hearing coming up here in the next month as well. So he's reported, he's done everything he's been told to do. There are people that are joining his team, which tells you everything that Tim McMillan made up in that interview about Kirkpatrick being an asshole is false. Because if he was an asshole that nobody wanted to work with, why are all these people signing up to work with him and figure out this problem? I am deeply disappointed at the denigration of Arrow's dedicated men and women hailing from the Department of Defense, intelligence community, and civil partners who are pouring their hearts out working this issue on behalf of Congress. Arrow has the authorities and the resources necessary to execute the mission to meet congressional intent, and as we've stated before, Arrow welcomes anyone with knowledge of these allegations or programs to talk with us in a safe, secure, and appropriately cleared environment. Rest assured, Arrow will follow the data wherever it leads. So basically what Dr. Kirkpatrick just said in that paragraph was Sean Kirkpatrick's story doesn't fucking check out, pals. It doesn't check out. All of those claims about people being murdered and hurt by other Department of Defense employees or aliens, whichever one it is, doesn't check out because Arrow has their own police force and security detail. So if somebody is threatened or if somebody feels unsafe, they immediately bring in the authorities to figure out what the hell's going on. But they haven't been used yet because there hasn't been a reason to use them yet. Because Grush is not in danger of his life. He's too busy being CEO of Gary Nolan's project. Finally, to be clear, Arrow has yet to find any credible evidence to support the allegations of any reverse engineering programs for non-human technology. Also, to be clear, none of the whistleblowers from yesterday's hearing ever worked for Arrow or was ever representative to Arrow, contrary to statements made in testimonies and in the media. Which is true. They got their asses fired in the transition from UAPTF to Arrow because Travis Taylor, David Grush, Gary Nolan aren't reliable enough. They have a bias in their belief system. They're running off of New York Times articles that are completely incorrect. That's what they're basing their opinions off of. They have no direct knowledge and have had no hands or no eyeballs on any of these programs or any of these technologies. It's a huge, trust me, bro, it's real. And right here, you've got a letter from the head of the department going, fuck you, you're lying, and stop dragging good people under the bus to spread this lie. That's what Grush is doing. That is what Gallaudet is doing. That's what Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, Matt Ford, they're all throwing good people under the bus because they're having a temper tantrum because the answers they're getting don't fit their UFO grift. It doesn't help them sell any more movies, Kirkpatrick, when you say this is not real. How am I supposed to make a documentary about the biggest UFO whistleblower of all time if I can't confirm his legitimacy? Don't worry about it. I'll just make it up. The hatred for this guy is a temper tantrum because the answers he's giving don't fit the narrative to sell more books, movies, podcasts, and bullshit. I hope some of you guys go to prison for this because the scale at which you're lying deserves prison time. It really does. It's consumer fraud at now a congressional level. And I want to know what Arrow and Senator Gillibrand are going to do about this. Because they're making you look like a bunch of dicks. This was also Senator Gillibrand had responded to this as well. Senator Gillibrand has asked Arrow director to meet with UFO whistleblower David Grush. This clip comes from Matt Laszlo from Ask a Poll, and I'll be honest, I think Matt Laszlo has a little bit of a bias toward wanting this to be real, but he's on the scene, he's getting quotes, and this is a great quote that he got from Senator Gillibrand. So hats off, great work as far as I'm concerned when it comes to this clip. I think a lot of the clips that he's getting have been very interesting and very telling, but this one in particular stuck out. So let's listen to what Senator Gillibrand has to say about Dr. Kirkpatrick and David Grush.
Check out the Grush testimony in the House at all?
No, I'm sure it's good though.
Well, figure you got a day jump. Well, a lot of it, he says, I can't talk about that. I need classified settings.
Yeah.
Any update on your investigation? Some people are saying end of September, early October,
for
potentially. What? Potentially for, I've heard, maybe closed door until.
Oh, we'll have another hearing, yeah. I've had some meetings with Dr. Kirkpatrick recently to get an update on where he is on different things. But there'll be another public report coming out I think by January.
Yeah.
And he's just working through, and I think he's being extremely productive. And
So she's talking about Dr. Kirkpatrick. I think he's being extremely productive. What else does your hero, Senator Gillibrand, have to say about Dr. Kirkpatrick?
I'm very grateful for the work Arrow's doing.
And she's very grateful for the work that Arrow's doing. So what do we do now, UFO believers? Do we slam the shit out of Senator Gillibrand? And she's not even done yet. That had to have pissed a whole bunch of people off. But now what do? Do you harass Gillibrand over this? How come there's no call to action to fire her? Where's her dereliction of duty, Matt Ford? I wonder if it will come when she starts agreeing with him in public hearings. And be careful, Senator Gillibrand, because I have a feeling this wave of support is going to turn on you in a really nasty way.
And he is trying to interview all the people that would know anything about any past programs.
Yeah.
So I feel like we have the right man on the job.
She feels that we have the right man on the job. So now what? Now what? The person who created The Office says he's fine. He's doing a great job. But according to Tim McMillan, he's not. According to Sean Cahill, he's not. According to Tim Gallaudet and David Grush and Gary Nolan, he's not. According to Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, he's not doing a good job. It's administrative terrorism. He's not listening to the witnesses. And here you have Senator Gillibrand saying, yes, he is. He's doing all of those things. And he's doing a fantastic job. So now what do you guys do? Your move. Your move, believers. Which one is it? Who are you going to hate in this one? Probably me, right? Because it's my fault. She said that Dr. Kirkpatrick is doing a great job. It's my fault.
Would you want to hear from Grush publicly?
Yes, and I also privately. I've asked for a meeting, so I've not been given it yet, but I'm hoping.
She asked David Grush for a meeting, and she hasn't been given it yet. Why? She should be the first person David Grush wants to talk to. And she should be the first person that David Grush wants to complain to. This is January 26th. She's requested a meeting with Grush, and she hasn't gotten it yet. I wonder if it's happened by now. Don't know.
Today.
Yeah, maybe he can meet me tonight. Yes, I've asked for a meeting, and I've asked for Dr. Kirkpatrick to meet with him too.
I'm curious what you think once you're able to.
Yeah, I'll find out what he says.
I know you have a day job.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
Appreciate you, man.
I know you have a day job. I mean, I don't know what else has to be said or done or shared, for people to come to the realization this is whatever's going on here. It's not alien transparency. That 100% for sure is not it. It's just not. I love the space crystals that William Shatner is sending for $150,000. They'll take a piece of your DNA, put it into a crystal, and shoot it to the moon. Oh man, William Shatner is a chameleon grifter. That guy will take, if you got the money to pay his appearance fee, he'll do anything. Anything. He will hawk any product. He will, look at what he did with Caroline Corey in the whole movie that she did. He's like, wow, this is fascinating. And here he is on News Nation saying, yeah, this is all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Let's listen to his clip because I thought this was hilarious. Because James Fox was very upset with William Shatner. Very upset from these comments.
But first, I just want to ask you, because we just had these historic hearings last week on Capitol Hill. What did you make of those hearings and the fact that UAPs, as they're now called, are being discussed, by witnesses under oath in Congress?
It's just, in my mind, it's ridiculous. You mean some highly intelligent being goes 10,000 light years with advanced technology, arrives here and hides?
Yeah, great point.
Doesn't make any sense. If something could reach the Earth, they would make a big to-do about, my gosh, there's life in other places. And there is life in other places. Mathematically, there has to be in this universe. There has to be multiple places that are filled with life like that. That's like on our planet, burgeoning and demanding attention and demanding to be alive. But if they're going to make that journey all the way here, it just beggars the imagination that they would hide and make it peekaboo. I'm here. No, I'm not. You know, it doesn't make.
It's a great point, man. It's a great point. And boy, oh boy, did UFO land get pissed at him. He doesn't believe in the Prime Directive? Are you kidding me? Like, I even see it here. No, he doesn't believe in the Prime Directive. And, I mean, look, man, it doesn't make any sense. Like, and it also doesn't make any sense. Forget about, let's say they're just observing, okay? All right, cool. They're observing. Maybe we're like a little fish tank for them. Okay, so, and maybe we wouldn't even be able to observe their observation because it's just so macro. Why would they crash? Why would they travel all that way just to crash? And only crash in the 1940s and 50s. And maybe once in the 70s. Like, why don't they crash anymore? What happened to all the crashes? They just fixed that in 30 years? All right. Seems like a short amount of time to fix a really big problem that they were having. And I'm to be honest, I'm kind of shocked they have that problem at all. Because I would want 100% guarantee that I'd be able to make it back if I was going to go that deep into space. Wow. It's just incredible. Incredible, incredible. All right, so now we've done that. Let's try and do this Twitter space thing. I'm going to try and start a Twitter space here on I'll just call it UFOs Live with Lou. And, all right. So I'm going to start this Twitter space. All right. I'm not going to invite anybody. I'm going to skip the invites. Let's see here. All right. So my mic is off. Let me go ahead and, all right. So let me see if I can log out of this account, go to this account, and see if I can find, okay, this space here. Start listening. Alright. Got music on. I'm going to go ahead and invite to speak. Invite to co-host. So co-host invite. Let's see if it works. Let's see. I'm going to try. I want to see if this works. Check. Let's... Request to speak. Let's see here. Allow. Alright. Check. Let's see here. Can you guys hear me in this chat? Heather and Hepth. Can you guys hear me? Just kill the music. Request. Yep, let's do that. All right. Here we go. All right, let me try this here. Sorry, guys. This is the first time I'm ever doing this. So, alright. Autoplay when the thing starts. Let's end this. End the music. No. Alright. I'm doing this through the phone. But let me see if I can. Yeah. I don't think this is gonna work. But we'll see. I see we got people loading up here. I know you can hear me through the phone, but I'm getting like double. Let's see here. Can I speak? Can I speak through this? Adjust settings. Let me see if I've got my mic set to this, guys. Give me a second. Let's see. Why is my mic? There's no mic setting here, so you guys can't. Right? Like, you guys can't hear me right now, I don't think. Through the Lou reviews. Yep, I thought this was going to work, you guys. Okay. All right. I'm just going to have to host this for the phone, but I don't think this is going to work in the future. So let's go ahead and who wants to speak here? We got Travis. All right, so let's get your request here. Get you in the show. Travis, you're up. What's going on? Nope. Looks like you got your mic muted. Oh, there he goes. Hello?
Can you guys hear me?
There.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, now we hear you. You got anything to say, Travis? All right. I'm going to remove him, request back. If you want, here, let's get to Panda. See what Panda's got to say. Then we'll get to you, Fjord. Panda, can you hear me? Wait, say that again? It is, yes. Today is my birthday. Hearts in the chat for Lou's birthday. Well, look, I don't think this is working on the YouTube stream, so I think we'll have you speak your mind here through the space, and then I'm going to send out a link to join me through a different way. So people, if you guys want to come and talk on the show here, or give your opinions to me, or tell me how stupid and wrong I am, you can do that. I'm going to send out the link in the live chat here in a second. So if you want to join me there, Panda, or if you want to say what you got to say, I've got the speaker held up to the microphone. I'm not sure if they'll hear you, but what do you got?
Just want to say what's up. Hope all is well. Tomorrow or Monday, we're going to have a.
Yeah.
You were saying too about oh, you felt bad about how on your show today, calling that stuff out. I really think those of us that called it out before were pretty much set in stone, and the people who didn't, I feel like are they're gonna have it's gonna be worse off. Not not trying to be mean or anything, but just long-term reputation wise.
I mean, yeah, this is a conversation we have a lot. I don't know if there's going to be any repercussions for the folks who are pushing this narrative. I think it's going to be business as usual when it all turns out to be bullshit. I think the line will be, oh, we can't trust the government. They weren't honest with us. We're just going to have to do it ourselves. And this hearing and everything that's happened since 2017 will be this blip in history, kind of like Roswell, kind of like the previous hearings. And, it'll just be it'll just be repeated history, and the grift will continue. I mean, I hope you're right, but I don't foresee that happening.
Gives me hope, and because I'm still pro UFO, but I think we're both pretty vocal about the harassment culture that's been going on. And what gives me hope is according to Cambion, I guess like David Wilcox's whole like trial is including aspects of that too. So even if it does all end up being like bullshit or anything like that, thing I think will still be. I think there'll be justice for that. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so Panda, I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna let everyone. Sorry if everyone who's hopping in here. Thank you for being here. I'm going to send out a different link and end this Twitter live space because I was trying to include everybody on my live show into the Twitter space, but just Twitter does not have a desktop version for Twitter Spaces, which is really stupid. I don't know why. So we're gonna end this stream here. I'm gonna send the link out in my YouTube stream, so all of you guys listening here on the Twitter space, head over to the YouTube stream. If you want to add your 2 cents, I'm going to be sending out a link for everyone to do so. So we'll do that for the next half hour, and then I got to go get ready for dinner. But yeah, all right. So I'm going to end this space. Everybody go over to the live stream, and we'll do it that way. All right. Thanks for being patient and helping me experiment with this little this little setup here. I had a feeling it wouldn't work, but I had to try just in case. All right. I'll see y'all later. Peace. Okay. So Twitter Spaces is ended. All right, so let's end it here. Okay, sorry guys, I tried. I did try. I genuinely tried. So let me set up a different. Let me set up a StreamYard so we can. Excuse me. So we can get anybody in here, and you guys can say anything and everything you want. Okay, let me move this here and let me send this invite to everybody here. So paste. There we go. All right, so there's a StreamYard invite. So whoever wants to pop in here, give me your 2 cents. You don't have to be on camera. This will totally oh no, don't want to do it that way. Let's do it. You know what? Let's do this. Okay, let's go and do this. Let's make this person bigger. That's whoever's gonna call in here. Whoever wants to call in. Again, just hit that link and you should be able to connect your microphone or your the only thing is that you have to have the best way that StreamYard works or to pop in here is a Chrome browser. So if you don't have Chrome browser, it might not work. Let's go ahead and stop camera here. There we go. All right, so we've got that set up. So whoever wants to call in, you've got the link right here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and resend that out as well, and I'm going to pin it to the live chat. So just give me a second here. I'm setting this all up. Here we go. Pin it to the live chat. So just give me a second here. I'm setting this all up. Here we go. Pin it to the live chat. So just give me a second here. Setting this all up. All right, so there you go. I don't want to do that. Come on, so there you go. Oh man, how do I want to do that? Dude, this is so stupid. I can't. Somebody else leave a comment so I can pin this bad boy. I can't hit the 3 dots because there's a little heart over it. I can only heart it. Somebody else leave a comment so I can pin this bad boy. I can't hit the 3 dots. All right, because pin that bad boy. All right. I can only so we've got that up and running. So again, if you guys want to talk, give me your points of view on anything that we talked about today, please do. In the meantime, I'm going to say hi to everybody in the chat. Boots says crazy times. Could Grush claims pan out? At this point, it doesn't look like it. Zoltan said the audio is 100. Says crazy times. Could Grush claims something else is playing here? At this point, it doesn't. Oh, it's my stream. That's why. Okay, cool. We've got some folks in the chat popping in. I'm gonna go with the first one here, and that was Mina. Mina, what's shaking? Thanks for coming on the show. What do you got? Hello? Mina, are you there? Thanks for the donation, Heather Birdie. $2. Happy birthday. Hope your day has been amazing. It's been pretty damn good so far. Mina, are you there? All right, I'm going to put Mina in the back room. Maybe her mic will start working. I feel like I hear her. We're going to go with Artisan Tony, who is up next. Tony, what's shaking, buddy?
Hello. Happy birthday.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I had a question for you.
Yeah.
I haven't heard you recently talk about, I mean, obviously they're starting to make a pretty good fuss, right, about all of this. So what is your most current theory on how they have been able to, you know, the motive behind? And I know I've heard many motives, but I'm curious about yours.
At this point, I think the motive is pretty simple. I mean, it's right in our face. And I think the motive is to position themselves through organizations like Americans for Safe Aerospace to position themselves for government contracts, to pay out their buddies that are on the boards of these independent entities to look at this airspace that the government is having a hard time doing, as if they're going to somehow look at that airspace better than all of the instruments and gadgets that the Air Force and Navy have. I think it's ridiculous, but I think what's going to happen is people are not going to be satisfied with what Kirkpatrick and Aero puts out as fact. I don't think they're going to be satisfied with what NASA puts out there. And I think then the Senate and Congress is going to go to an independent entity to look at this issue. And I think that's when they're going to start handing out contracts to Americans for Safe Aerospace, Avi Loeb's Galileo project, and whoever else wants to line up and study this on behalf of the government. And then I think that'll happen for 5 or 6 years. They'll waste a whole bunch of money. And then everybody's going to go in 20 years and go, what the hell happened here? Just like they did with OSAP. So that's kind of my theory and motivations as to why they're doing this. Because if you look at Tim Gallaudet, you look at Dave Grush, you look at Cahill, Elizondo, Mellon, Pudoff, all of these guys have either been a part of OSAP or were part of OSAP or have been around OSAP. They know how to petition the government for these kinds of programs, and they're all on the boards. They're all advisors. They're all contributors to these organizations, and these organizations are in the halls of Congress talking to people like Senator Gillibrand and telling her and getting her in her ear, hey, I think we can help you with this problem. All we need is some government funds, and we can help keep this aerospace safe on behalf of Americans, even though they do not represent us whatsoever. So that's my theory in a nutshell. What do you think?
I just think it's amazing how deep it's gotten. If there's not a there. You know, I think we all kind of want to be there to be something out there, right?
Yeah. I want to see it. I want to be wrong. I want it to be true. You know, I want a satisfying answer for what I saw, you know, but that doesn't mean I'm going to lose my mind or my rationality or my good sense in the process, you know? So I think that's kind of where I'm at with it, where it's like take it by a case by case basis. I mean, like, how come, perfect example, we just learned a couple of months ago that Alex Dietrich's husband was on ATIP. He was one of the advisors on ATIP, and she didn't use his last name when she came out publicly because they didn't want to answer that question because it's a conflict of fucking interest. Like, why is one of the F-16 fighter pilots whose testimony completely is different from that of David Fravor's as far as the time of how long they're David Fravor explains a 10 to 15 minute incursion. She explains a 5-second incursion. She only saw it for a blip. And then we come to find out that her husband works on ATIP. It's like, dude, why are we learning about this? Almost 5 years after the fact, 6 years after the fact. It's kind of ridiculous.
You just wonder if they really meant for the lie to get this big or public. Sometimes.
Yes, I think they did. I think they're doing the exact same thing OSAP did, just on a bigger scale. Because they know, and you've heard them say this, Tony. He's probably said it on your show. The fact that they know how much government is wasteful. That's what part of the reason why Lou Elizondo wanted to run for Congress, because he sees how wasteful government is. They know how wasteful and how frivolous government could be with dollars, and that there's usually very little oversight and very little consequences for simply adhering to those contracts and trying to fulfill those contracts. Njord, come back. I saw you. I'm not ignoring you. We'll get you back here in a second. We'll say goodbye to Tony. So come back in the room, and as soon as you do, I'll pop you in here. But yeah, dude, like it's just, it doesn't bode well for these guys. It doesn't feel like they're being honest or transparent whatsoever.
Well, you owe me another appearance on Pi-Fi, so come back sometime.
Anytime, man. Yeah, hit me up and I will get you on there. I'll see you soon. Thanks, Tony, for hanging out, man. Bye.
Thanks.
So next up, we've got Sidvich. Sidvich is in the house, and we got Fjord up next. Fjord, I see you. I promise. Sidvich, in the interest of time, we're gonna ask that you keep it to one.
Quick.
Yeah, to be as quick as possible.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
And really like what you're doing.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
That's it.
That's it. All right.
Also,
All right.
I want to show off. I got this from California the other day.
Awesome. Assholes live forever. This is true. This is true. Well, Sidvich, thank you so much for being part of the show and calling in. I thank you for the happy birthday wish, and we'll see you the next time we do this, I hope.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Here.
All right, Fjord. What's shaking, Fjord?
Oh boy.
Yeah, man. How you doing? I owe you a phone call. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Just wanted to say happy birthday, and
thank you.
I'm limited both on time and bandwidth, so I will keep this delightfully brief for you.
Yeah.
But just two things that I wanted to sort of heads up. One, if you guys aren't following this LK99 thing, you are missing a hell of a show.
I am not following the K99 thing. Fill me in. What's going on?
All right, so.
Oh, wait. Before you do, thank you, Stone Apex, for the $20 birthday donation. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Seriously. Okay, continue.
Sure. So, way long ago, there were some like Soviet scientists that had an alternate theory about superconductivity. It got buried when the Soviet Union collapsed. Some people about 25 years ago that sort of inherited some of their, I don't know what you want to call it, like research pedigree, have been pushing for the past 25 years on a certain mixture of very common elements that it looks like actually does room temperature superconducting and might redefine what we mean by the word superconductor. So like, huge amount of science is about to get overturned, and when you look at like they're also filing some patents for this, and some of their prior art pulls up a bunch of patents filed by some people that are recognizable names in the UFO community, because they're a bunch of like anti-gravity patents and other weird stuff, which I don't know how much of that I buy.
Yeah,
but
well, once you said the people that are submitting the patents are from the UFO community, that gives me some red flags right there.
Right. Well, no. Hear me out. The people who are submitting these patents aren't. But in order to submit patents, you first have to show prior art. And when they're referencing prior art patents, some of the prior art patents that they are referencing to say these are people who have made similar claims to what we're making. Those people are UFO related, some of them. And so there's this whole interweave between actual replicated science that's happening right now that's also sort of torpedoing the entire peer review process, because this entire thing just sort of like sidestepped peer review. And half of the first person to do replication is some cat girl tanky in Russia who's literally like baking this stuff on her home, like on her stove, but the rocks float. So something weird is going on that doesn't look like it's camera tricks. And then a bunch of like US and South Korean and Chinese and Indian laboratories are all phoning in, and some of them are saying, yeah, we couldn't get it to work, and some of the others are saying like, guys, the rock floats. I don't know what to do because like the rock floats. And so it's really something interesting to look at.
Well, I did see something about an article about superconductors, but I didn't click in on it. Is that the one that's kind of making
That's
rounds?
almost certainly going to be the one. That's almost certainly going to be the one.
Okay, I'll check it out. I'll check it out.
No, you prepare for a really fun deep dive, regardless of whether it turns out to all be bullshit or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you if it's coming from a Russian lady and scientist in Russia, I feel like if it's real...
No. So but hear me out.
Yeah.
The actual lab are a bunch of like fly-by-night South Korean kids. All right.
Got it.
The first replication came from some like Russian cat girl on Twitter, but real like prestigious labs are also phoning in with like real replication. And then others are phoning in with like, yeah, we didn't get it to replicate, but we think that might be because the South Korean kids who started this whole mess have really terrible documentation, and we can't read their notes on how to make this stuff. And so like the whole thing is it's a shit show, but it's amazing to watch.
Interesting. Okay, well, I'll look into it. I'll look into it.
So the other thing I wanted to say is that everything you guys are talking about with the UFO Twitter, like not just Twitter, but like the whole community, and what looks like some pretty obvious grift and what looks like some pretty obvious harassment to sustain the grift.
Yeah.
It feels like you are reading off the same Mad Lib script, just with the names and industries replaced.
Yep.
As what I watched play out a few times now. So I'm starting to think that probably at least 2/3 of these people couldn't give a shit about UFOs or disclosure or anything like that.
Yeah.
They've got a playbook, and they move from one place to another whenever they find a community of people that are passionate and a little crazy about a certain topic. They like erase the old Mad Lib blanks and write in new ones until they get something that works. Yeah. And like, I would strongly recommend taking a look at Silicon Valley's relationship with artificial intelligence safety research and how that played out over the past 5 years, how that played out starting 12 years ago and ending 5 years ago, and see if you can notice the shape of the Mad Lib. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
And
I'll
if
take a look
you
at
can
it.
notice that, especially take a look at anything that is orbiting around Peter Thiel and Bezos, the Amazon guy, and those people, because there's like the place that you want to dig deepest is where all the deep pockets are, not necessarily where all the loud voices are.
Right. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, Fjord, I have to let you go because I've got 2 more in the wings here.
I
But
gotta go too.
thank you for the breadcrumbs. I'm definitely going to take a look at those, and I'll give you a call here in I hope the next couple days. I've been insanely busy, but
No worries. I
your
got a sick
patience.
dog to take care of right now. So like
All
as soon
right,
as
buddy.
that resolves, enjoy.
That sucks. All right. Hey, have a good one. Ciao. All right. So now we've got not working in the house. Hello. Can you hear me?
buddy. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on. Let me just turn down your
Okay.
volume here on my end. Yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, I was wondering, I didn't catch up about the backstory on how Brandon, how it led into him not showing up. I
Yeah.
just missed that part. If you could expand.
Oh,
And then I have like 2 other questions.
It's too long. My recommendation is as soon as the show's over, go back and watch, and because it's about a 45-minute explanation, 50 minutes.
Okay.
So I can't go totally into it, but basically the questions, in a nutshell, the questions we had, I think were a little too hard to answer, and so therefore we are not going to give you the time to even attempt to answer them.
Got it.
Yeah.
The next one was, what do you think about the guys on Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, the CIA guy and the reporter?
When you say
Have you
CIA
checked
guy,
their background?
do you mean Travis Taylor?
No, the 2 new guys from Beyond Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh,
the one.
no. No, I have not. I have not watched that show at all. No, I know one of them. Yeah, I haven't watched that show just because I honestly I don't have the bandwidth to do it. I've already watched the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and I'm so sick of the show. I could honestly, I don't want to watch anything else that's even remotely related to that show. But I do know that one of the guys is a former CIA agent, and he's been on a few podcasts and has made some pretty big claims. But again, just a lot of stories, no proof, but you know.
Okay. And then I just wondered, I came across in some Telegram weird chat, but they were talking a lot about something, a guy called Dan Burich. He was a microbiologist from Area 51 from the era 2002 until 2014, where in 2014 he got severely beaten up. He even published some pictures of him getting really beaten. And then he's still married today. Her wife has a website, and he's still married to the daughter of Mike McConnell. So he was like the former director of National Security Agency of the U.S. In 92 to 96. And I was wondering if you have ever heard a little bit about that story, because that story is really, really wild. And
no, I haven't heard anything about that, but if you know where to find me on Twitter, please send me a link. I'd love to read about him and learn about his story. But no, I'm not familiar with that story at all.
Okay. Yeah, I will absolutely catch up on that.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Well, yeah,
Thanks so much,
absolutely.
buddy.
Thank you so much for calling in. Not working. Appreciate it. Up next, we've got Lord Ludacris. All right. What is shaking, buddy?
Hey, man.
Hey, there's that face. How's it going?
Yeah.
What's shaking, man? Thanks for calling.
Man.
Yeah.
Hey, it's just interesting seeing how the tables have turned.
Yeah.
You know, I was where you are right now, you know, not that long ago, and now you're where I was. So it's interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, I know you and I have had some back and forth on Twitter, but I don't think anything that's been disrespectful or mean.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I respect what you do, man, and I respect that you're open about making your change. I think that's awesome. You could have not told anybody, buried it down deep and made more money, or you could have done the right thing, which you did, and I respect that. You know,
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it wasn't the funnest thing to do, that's for sure. You know, but yeah, I think it ended up being the right decision.
Yeah.
You know, and
I know it was one of those. It's like and I'm not saying what you were doing was a drug dealer, but it's like the drug dealer analogy. You know, like, well, if I don't do it, someone else is going to do it. Well, no, you can have integrity and say, no, I'm not going to. Yeah, that next person can and take that risk, but I'm not going to continue that cycle or what have you.
Yeah, no, it's
Does that make
it's
sense?
interesting. I was just watching this thing yesterday about a control experiment that is like a test of time, and it's basically you have a group of 4 people, and you have an experiment where everyone in the group agrees on the wrong answer, and the 4th person has no idea that the other 3 people are in on it, and that they're part of the controlled experiment. And it's wild to watch that even though you're looking at the wrong answer, you conform to the group when they give the wrong answer, even though you're looking at it and you're saying to yourself, okay, the right answer is A, but everyone in this group just picked C. And the first time he gives the right answer, the second time it happens, he immediately conforms to the group. And it's like,
Well, you can see the internal conflict with some of the people on some of the videos I've watched. It's interesting that they'll still go along with it.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
No, it is. It is. I mean, we talked a little bit about this with Jack Brewer, this idea of, and I've said this a few times, where I think everybody hits a wall or comes to a crossroads in this conversation where they're like, okay, like, this stuff isn't making any sense. Am I going to follow the actual factual data, even though I don't like where that road leads? Or am I going to continue with the shoddy secondhand, trust me, bro data and go where that leads because it makes me feel good? And I think a lot of believers choose that route, but more importantly, I think a lot of podcasters choose that route because it's a much easier route. Because look at them, all of them are right now on News Nation. You had Chris Plain, you had Brian Sprague, you had Ross Coulthart, you had Bryce Zabel, you had all of these guys that have been pushing all of this stuff for the man and have been approved with the stamp of approval by Lou Elizondo because he's done all of the podcast rounds. And now they've got that as stamp of approval. And so now they get to be the new talking voices on the News Nation. They get to be the ones who spread their channel and their message and their secret access and all of their stuff. And yeah, it sucks to watch. But I know that they're going to have to pay the piper on that eventually. Eventually,
One
that's
day.
going to come calling.
But they never tell on each other, right? Like,
no.
Jimmy Church isn't going to call out Dolan. Dolan's
No.
not going to call out Jimmy Church for
No.
having Doty on, or vice versa. Or what
Yeah.
have you. Yeah, so that vicious cycle always continues. And that's something that, I learned from Cambion that he pointed out, way back when. And I was like, damn, man, it really is.
It's a circle jerk.
Vicious cycle like that.
It's a circle jerk.
A
Everybody
circle jerk,
covers each other's backs. Nobody challenges each other. And everybody, and like Jack Brewer said, there's no discernment. There's no rationality. Therefore, there's no way to discuss this with them because they're irrational. They cannot be
right.
There's
it's
no
prove it to me.
Yeah, exactly. And
like, how do I prove something that I can't prove? Like, it's
right.
It's ridiculous.
No,
but yeah, Jack is awesome. I'm looking forward to hanging out with Jack here coming up some football season.
Oh, right on.
So
right on. Are you guys? Are you in Florida as well?
Much, yeah.
Okay, cool. So Florida boys.
Florida, so yeah,
right
not
on.
too far. Yeah, Jack's an awesome guy.
Cool, man. Well, yeah, I hope I'm jealous. I would like to hang out with Jack Brewer in the bar and watch football all day. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, no, we don't even really talk UFOs that much.
No, why would you? why would you?
Right?
Football's on,
Exactly.
football, chicken wings, and yeah, I
That's
can't wait.
true.
It's in the air. Football is in the air. It's back, and I'm excited for it.
It is, man. Hey, but I just wanted to come up and say, hey, I appreciate what you're doing. Keep on keeping on, man. And I know it was brave and hard to do what you did and give up what you gave up, but respect, man, and integrity are things you can't really buy. So regardless of what people may say, you have respect and integrity, and people see that. The people that count, I think, see it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
And one day it'll come back. It'll come out.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
Whatever they say, what's in dark comes to light, or whatever.
Yeah.
Something
It's
like
always
that.
darkest before the dawn, right?
Darkest before the dawn. That's another one. Yeah.
But yeah, hey man, I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the support. It means a lot, and it's nice to hear that people saw it. People saw it, and they were also taken aback, and because that was a big part of kind of like, what the hell's going on here? Like, to just see everybody sort of turn their back on rationality and
It
and
was
events,
something
like it's
really
wild.
interesting.
Yeah,
It was
really
interesting to watch. Like,
Yeah.
if you would have known in real time what was going to play out, I'm sure you would have documented it differently.
Yeah.
Just because it was so crazy what happened to you, and it like with the flip of a switch, just bam, and it was just like, I was like, damn, what the hell happened? Like,
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
and people see the same thing with Rather, like what's happened to Rather. People see it. I would
Yeah.
like to think that there's a lot of people that are upset over it. Maybe they're not being vocal about it. They should. I mean, it's bullshit what happened to him. Sorry for the language, but man, Rather's a nice dude.
Yeah, no, rather
to
is
have,
salt
to
of the
have,
earth,
I
man.
mean, like,
Rather salt of the
same
earth.
thing with like Michael, man. Like,
Yeah.
Michael, another great dude, funny,
Yeah.
hilarious.
Well, every single one of my hosts have been run off by crazy people.
I know.
I'm the only one who's sticking around. I'm the only one
bonkers.
sticking around.
Well, I'm glad you have, man, and we appreciate it, all of us that watch and all that. So thank you. I'll sit down and let you do your thing. But thank you again for what you do, man.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate the love. And yeah, we'll see you soon, man. Thanks for tuning in and helping produce the show. And yeah, you're gonna be the last call we take tonight, and I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my birthday. But yeah, man, thanks for calling in. I
Happy
appreciate
birthday.
it. Thanks, man.
Happy
Thank
birthday. You do that. You go and have a good happy birthday.
Yeah. I've played some
Don't
golf
talk
today.
about UFOs.
Now it's time to go have a good dinner. Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
nice.
Exactly.
Well, I hope
All
you had a good round, and you go enjoy your birthday. Sorry to keep going.
5 over. I wasn't too
Damn, that's
upset
not
with
bad.
it. That's not bad. Well, it's only 9 holes. If I'm being honest, it was only 9 holes. But
Still.
if you average that out over 18 at 10 over, I'll take that all day.
You take the
all right,
wins when you get them.
Exactly. Well, Ludacris, thank you for calling in. Thank you for being a supporter of the show, and we'll talk to you soon, friend.
All right, man.
Ciao.
Have a good one.
All right, you guys. So that was the show today. That was a fun show. I had a fun show. That was fun. Sorry about the Twitter experiment. Sorry to do that on you guys live, but I had to try because I thought that doing it through Twitter would have been so cool. Because then you'd have a whole group of people and people could go back and forth, and it could be that could be an interesting discussion. We could still do it sort of that way through StreamYard, but it can't be like 10 people. It can't be like 15, 20 people like it can be on Twitter Spaces. So hopefully they make a desktop version of it where we'll be able to do that kind of stuff in the future. But yeah, want to first of all get some tunes going. Just a little bit. There we go. You guys, what a killer show. Man, we had so much to talk about. If you agreed with any of the stuff that you heard today, do us a favor, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell so that way you guys are notified anytime we go live. It helps tremendously. What is going on here? There we go. Yeah, want to say thank you to Swink McLeod. Mina, sorry Mina that we didn't get you on the show. Maybe next time. I'm not sure. I couldn't hear you when you popped in. Thank you, M. Thank you, Skinny Bob, for being here. Thank you, Boots. Thank you, Jason Brown. Let's see here. Thank you, Stone Apex, for the donation and the support. I really appreciate it. I know we don't see eye to eye, but I love having folks in here that don't see eye to eye with me, because they always provide good conversation and good back and forth. And that's what I'm looking for. That's who I'm looking to engage with. So Stone Apex, you're good like that. I appreciate it. Cameron T, thank you for being here. Johnny P Adventures, thank you for being here. Lord William, I don't know what the F you're looking at, but thanks for being here. Even though you gave it a thumbs down, thanks for the view, schmuck. John P Adventures, thank you for the face green smiling. Appreciate it. Zach Hyde, thank you so much for being here. Pat Calabria, don't worry about being here late, buddy. Go watch the replay. Thanks for being here. Mega Briar Patch, Lord Ludacris, who was here in the show, Artisan Tony, Cameron T, Simon Fly, Michael Padilla, all you guys. If I forgot anyone, I love you. Thank you for being here. I did see someone here. Falls Garon, Night Gazer, Fjord, who called into the show. Thank you for being here. Alex Crudup, Steve Long, Heather Birdie, there she is. Thank you so much for being here. And Zinro. I hope I got mostly everyone. If I didn't, Simon Fly, thank you all. Anonymous Rex, thank you. That was a lot of fun. Oh, wait, what happened to my music? Why'd you guys... Oh, that's why. Here's why. Let me fix this real quick. I don't like when you guys don't get music. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? There we go. There we go. All right. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Blue Reviews. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a show tomorrow because we did this show today. Yeah, and obviously we lost a guest in Brandon Fugal. If you don't know why, go back to the beginning of this episode to find out why. So yeah, that's the show. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Friday nights, guys. All right, I got to get the hell out of here. I love you all. Peace out. Birdie, I do not play Overwatch. I feel like I'm terrible at games like that. I'll download it if it's free. Thank you, everyone, for all the birthday love. Truly appreciate it.